We are live. Good morning, everybody. It's me, definitely not Simon Whale, your preferred presenter, David Mintz, standing in for Mr. Whale, who has written in sick this morning, Rajiv. Have you got any photos you wish to share with the class?
He said that he has overdone his charitable work and it continued till about 6 in the morning. The photo evidence I don't think would be great for him personally or professionally, and I don't think it'd be great for Kerfuffle, but it's just nice to know that he puts his body on the line for his charitable endeavours.
He does. You know what? When I think about charity and I think about benevolence, Simon Whale is, and that vision of him at 5 a.m. is the first thing that comes to mind very often.
It's amazing. I didn't realise he was doing anything like a charity walk or run or climbing a mountain, but his face was very red in the photo at 5 in the morning. He really must have exerted himself.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are now live. I'm going to start sharing this across different platforms as well as we get going. I am joined by Rajiv Nayar from Fixflo, and I've got to say it is a rare pleasure because I get to do one of these, but B, I'm actually a fully fledged customer of Fixflo. Might I say, even add a satisfied customer of Fixflo. So Rajiv, let's start all the way at the beginning of your story. How did Fixflo come about, and where were you just before it's all kicked off?
Okay, so I love property. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm a geek about two things. I love them. They are property and law. So I combined those loves in my geekery by starting as a property lawyer, and I worked in London. Got Rugby World Cup tickets for 2011. Couldn't get time off work, so I moved to New Zealand and was a property lawyer over there for a bit, which was phenomenal. Came back and was a property consultant, but I was also a landlord, and I was renting out properties while being a tenant in New Zealand. And it just struck me the whole repairs and process was broken for tenants, for landlords, and for contractors. And I came back and I just wanted to fix the problem. And I thought the problem was one about communication. I spent months doing interviews and research. And in fact, some of the people who really helped at the start are Fixflo customers now, which is brilliant. And I just set about trying to solve a problem, which is the repairs process is one about communication and expectation management as well as delivery. And we've spent now 6 years, give or take, just trying to solve this one problem. And I don't think it's solved, but every day we get a bit closer.
It's evolving. And I think one of the things that you guys do, and I think you probably appreciate this, but as an agent, I can tell you, the bits of prop tech that seem to appeal most to agents, particularly lettings agents, are the bits that actually cut out the need for face-to-face interaction on very minor issues. So when somebody reports a repair, although it's always very big to them, sometimes it could just be, it can literally be a minor issue. But you avoid a 10-minute phone call about it. And at the end of that phone call, you're still very much perplexed as to what's causing the issue, what it looks like. You don't know what to tell the contractor to go and look for. And Fixflo takes care of all of that it takes care of the interaction. It makes sure that the repair is reported swiftly, but also with the correct documentation. So if we know what kind of a boiler we're looking at, if there's a boiler leak, very often pictures will be added to it. And the beauty of it is it works when we're asleep. So it can, if you've got an out of hours service, that can be very easily fielded outwards, can't it? So it's superb.
It's been a sort of evolution. So we started by solving one problem, which was around getting the right information from tenants. So everything we learned through research, and I think probably in hindsight we didn't need to do this much research, is tenants don't really care about much more than getting their problem fixed quickly. And the best way to get their problem fixed quickly is to help them give the right information that's needed by the property manager, possibly by the landlord to approve, and by the contractor to understand what to bring. The time on the telephone call takes a property manager away from delivering on those repairs. So if we can sort of empower tenants to give the right information. It means that all of the tenants get a better service. It means that property managers can spend their time fixing problems rather than trying to understand them. And it stops contractors going out with the wrong parts and equipment. So that's really where we started 6 years ago. And we've expanded beyond. And if that's of interest, I'll tell you a bit more about the other stuff we do.
Yeah, we'd love to. I mean, I think all of this as well, that's not, other than just time efficiencies and communication efficiencies, this also saves money, doesn't it? Not just for the agent, but for the actual end user, the landlord as well. So if you're acting for a landlord, you're not having to send out the wrong contractor, having to pay a call out charge for that. You can define and diagnose that problem much more easily, and it brings those costs down in the long run.
It does, and I think there are lots of things across the system. If I just take one example, through the system, it tells tenants what they're responsible for fixing and gives them suggested steps on how to fix simple things themselves. Now, each of our clients can add, remove, or edit that messaging as they see fit, but on average, 18% of issues are self-resolved by tenants following that guidance. And so that saves landlords call-outs charges that they may otherwise have incurred. And one of our clients used one of the marketing tools we've got within the platform and sent that out to their let-only clients, saying, effectively, look at how much you could have saved were we to do a fully managed service. And I know it's someone who's tuned in regularly, so maybe he'll comment if he's happy for me to share his name. But he used that, and I think it was within a day, he got 13 properties from let-only to fully managed. And that was the trigger for the landlord. This will save me time if I go with a fully managed service. So we can drive revenue into businesses, and I'll come on to the out of hours service and other things we do, which mean that our clients can earn money by taking on Fixflo.
Because that's an instruction winner, isn't it? Really, when you're a lettings agent or manager and you're going out to see a client at home, and you go on about how your account service is the best ever, and you know that everything that you do is top notch. Very few people talk about the way that they handle repairs specifically. But I think this is an absolute marketing tool. This is something that you can hang your hat on and say, look, you know, your tenants will not be left unanswered, out of hours particularly. And it gives them that sort of reassurance that 24/7, 365, there's somebody monitoring repairs and requests.
Well, if you think it through, and I'm a landlord and I pay for a fully managed service, the key reason I do it, and I believe that lots of landlords do, is because of repairs and maintenance. So why would you go from, say, rent collect or let only to fully managed? It's for dealing with repairs and maintenance. And that's not necessarily just in hours, it's the hassle of out of hours, as well as the need to ensure that the asset, from the landlord's perspective, is well protected and well maintained. So retaining residual value. So I think a core part of a pitch ought to be about the repairs and maintenance service. And I believe over time, the let-only service will start to die out. And actually, it'll be fully managed or nothing if you want a professional service. I think Roper's pushing people down that route anyway.
It's very interesting you say that. I had a discussion during lockdown with a friend of Kerfuffle, friend of the industry, actually, Christian Byfield, who really thinks that the end of let only has come, and that the legal ramifications of accepting a let only instruction in the long term for an agent, even if you're not managing it, are not worth. It's not worth the risk, really, the legal risk and the exposure. And so therefore a managed service puts you in control of what's happening with that property. And for similar, you're still absorbing the same amount of risk, aren't you?
So if I sort of break it down from everybody's perspective, from a tenant's perspective, having a fully managed service ought to mean, now if the agency has the right systems, processes and people in place, that they have a more professional experience of renting, which means that things are dealt with, that legal compliance is delivered, they live in a safer home and they have more certainty. So I think it's better for the tenants. From a landlord's perspective, it means that their assets ought to be better protected and they do not take on the legal risk. They're not typically, and I know there are portfolio landlords who specialise in this. I'm talking about the sort of accidental or ad hoc landlords. They don't have the time to keep up with the changes in legislation, so they're better protected. And from the agent's perspective, if you're on a let only and the landlord delivers a poor experience of the management aspect, because they're self-managing, that negatively impacts your brand. And also, the management fees themselves are your recurring revenue. So if you're looking to build intrinsic value in your business, the capital value of your business, to me, it's all about the management fees, the recurring revenue base that allows you to invest, develop and grow your business.
Fantastic. Now, you hinted earlier that beyond the simple sort of repair reporting scenario, it's a multifaceted product that you're offering, but also it's something that's evolving in line with the needs of the industry and agents. So before you tell us what's cooking, tell us about the out of hours element, and then we'll go to what the future looks like.
Sure. So actually, if I talk about the talk as it is now, and then I'll talk a little bit about where we're going. So we've got a modular system. So a lot of people think they use Fixflo, and they do, but they use one element of Fixflo, one of the modules. So you've got reactive repair reporting, which is the online repairs diagnostic process. You've then got the second module, which is Fixflo Essentials, which includes workflow and contractor management. So you can manage all of your quotes, you can create works orders, you can do your landlord authorizations, you can automate the process, you can track it all, and typically it will sort of allow contractors to upload their compliance documents, so it does all your contractor compliance. Contractors can upload their invoices, so you've got a streamlined process in. It is everything you need to get it from a repair reported, which is the first part, to completed with a huge amount of automation and reporting. And then we've got planned and cyclical maintenance, so you can automate and track all of your gas safety certificates, EICRs. I'm just going to pause on EICRs. So it's not just getting the automated instruction out to the contractor, it's tracking that it's done and tracking that every remedial action, so any of the categories that come back, are done and completed, and you can report to show that your portfolio complies with the law. So that's what we have at the moment. We've got lots of bells and whistles around that. So we have an AI-powered telephone line. So if you have a tenant base that typically will not go online, and we work with some of the retirement home providers, we have an AI-powered telephone line where you call up and it says, "Thank you for calling Normie & Co." It takes them through that process by telephone and drops into Fixflo. But we also have contractor marketplaces. So we have a partnership with AXA. AXA Home Services. So if there's an out of hours emergency repair, take a water leak as an example, that can automatically go to AXA. They will call the tenant back within an hour, is the SLA from AXA to, say, Normie & Co. But typically it's 15 minutes. They will triage the problem, and if appropriate, they will send out an engineer. For a water leak, I think their SLA is about 3 or 4 hours anywhere in the UK. And so you've got a fixed schedule of rates, so you know how much it will cost. They're all reasonable for emergency works. Yeah. And you've got that 24/7 cover.
It's a game changer. It really is. It's just that it's that reassurance that a lot of agents, no matter how big they are, been handling these repairs almost personally sometimes, and so they are constantly checking the main inbox to the company just to see if there's anything that needs to be done out of hours. And then you have to then go through that whole rigmarole of calling in favors with different contractors and saying, "Look, I know it's Friday night, but can you get there? And it's a family and they need their heating on," whatever it may be. But having an out of hours service that's backed by, I suppose, a brand name as solid and as trusted as AXA, gives you something that you can then say, turn around to your clients and say, "Look, this is rock solid. You can rely on it."
Absolutely. And you get a service level agreement from AXA, not from Fixflo, from AXA to your agency. You get the schedule of rates, all the rates, the rate card pre-agreed, so you know what it's going to cost. There aren't that many out of hours emergencies, but we're seeing some of our clients, not all of them that are using it, really use it as part of their pitch. So to me, it's all about taking the landlord on the journey of why they would want to go with a fully managed service. And I think this is another thing. So imagine there's a water leak out of hours. It's gushing through, it's damaging your carpet. The tenant's not going to change the bucket every couple of hours for you, and they're getting increasingly irate. You've got the additional stuff around fitness for human habitation and health and safety. If you go with Normie and Co.'s fully managed service, I keep saying Normie and Co. because
it's great. You keep going. You keep going.
We have a partnership with AXA, which allows us to have a contractor there in X hours. And I'm not going to say what X is because I can't remember what 3 or 4.
Yeah.
X hours, 24/7, Christmas Day, Easter. So, Mr. or Mrs. Landlord, think about it. You can manage yourself, but on Christmas Day, let's say there's a water leak in your largest asset outside of your primary residence. Do you want to be calling around contractors and trying to get favours? Probably not. Will you be available? You might be on holiday. Would you like to entrust that to us for not a huge uplift in price, which means that you know that we've got your back, we've got you covered, and we're backed by a major brand? And that's just one of the examples. We're taking that idea and we're extending it. So the next sort of challenge our clients have, and I'd be interested to know whether you're in the same position, is with the EICR regulation. So a lot of fixed wire testing needs to happen, and a lot of remedial works need to happen, and a lot of our clients are saying we just can't find contractors. And that could be because they're still not back at work fully, because they're shielding or concerned about going out,
or because the volume of work needed in that moment, because the legislation changes and it then coincided with everybody coming out of lockdown. So contractors start to work again and they find themselves absolutely mega busy. That has an effect on both availability but also pricing sometimes.
It does, and let's just take an example. You want to do a let, and you can't because of an EICR, a lack of an EICR. Your usual contractor is unavailable. Maybe they're like me and they've been on holiday and they're currently quarantining, which is not that different to life without quarantine, weirdly. We will have 2 choices for you. This is the plan. I believe in choice. So 2 choices for you in the platform of national providers of EICRs with a guaranteed turnaround time and fixed pricing. So you may want to use your usual electrician, and that's brilliant. If you've got service, you've got capacity, you've got quality, you've got availability, absolutely brilliant. But if you don't, wouldn't it be great if you could just click a button and know, I think they're going with a 5-day turnaround as the longest or the lowest service level. You're going to get your EICR from a very reputable brand.
And that it's very interesting, that element of fixed pricing as well. So you've got an idea of what that's going to be from day one. And it just, because these things can grow arms and legs, they diagnose it initially, but then need to start working on it and sometimes unravel lots of twists and turns on the way. So yeah, that's very helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, and through the Copilot system we've built, which is an automation layer, you could say, for example, taking AXA, if it's out of hours and it's winter, so you choose what winter is effectively, or Christmas Day, just take a single day, automatically put it to AXA if the boiler breaks. So you don't have to be there with the bat phone, as I call it, on Christmas Day, interrupting your Christmas supper, dinner, tea, depending on where you are in the country, trying to find a contractor, because you know it will have automatically gone to AXA. Or for EICRs, as they're required, they can automatically go out. So you can automate large parts of this process. We've seen people, so the typical Fixflo client gets, if they take Fixflo Professional, which is the 3 modules together, so reporting, management and contractor management and PPM, on average, they increase the number of properties per property manager by 35%. But there are some absolute outliers who have doubled or trebled their capacity by being able to really use the automation engine. And if you're out there and you are a Fixflo Essentials or professional customer and you have access to Copilots and you're not sure which ones to set up, get in touch. We have huge amounts of insight across our team on what will drive the greatest efficiency and service benefits for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things about your service in general. You can choose which parts of it work for you, and particularly with the out of hours reporting, you can give them very fixed parameters as to what you generally perceive as an emergency. So let's imagine you had a tenant, let's just call him Simon Whale, and he came home from charity work at 5 a.m. and he'd lost his keys and couldn't get in. Obviously it's an emergency for Simon. But it's not the same as if you've got a boiler that's actually pouring water out into a property, damaging the fabric of the structure of the house. So you can actually define that with the out of hours service, so they're not getting called out on a whim.
Absolutely, and you could be even more granular. In Whale Towers, it could be covered by British Gas Home Care
Yeah.
or one of those services. So you could say anything for Whale Towers or anything owned by Mr. Wales, landlord Mr. Mintz, who has it across his entire portfolio. Anything that's covered by that, automatically notify the tenant that it's covered by British Gas Home Care, and either provide them with the details or provide the information straight on to British Gas. So you don't have to handle things that aren't required. If you deal with new build homes and stuff is still under warranty from the contractor or subcontractor, you can automatically put it out to them.
That is awesome.
And we work across a few different sectors. So you've got residential lettings, and I think we're at somewhere between 35 and 40% of UK letting agencies by branch, as well as some of the online providers. But we also work in block management, build to rent, social housing. And then we've got a commercial property product, which is used by petrol stations, hotels, offices, industrial estates, and retail. So it is genuinely about, and we're really laser focused. It's about the infrastructure, the physical structure of the buildings, and trying to make sure that they fall down more gracefully.
That is great. I'm going to bring in a special guest. I'm very excited because I did promise I'd podcast with this lady, but the chance never came about. Zoe Bywater, welcome.
Can you hear me, Mother?
I can hear you, darling.
That's good then. What have I missed? Have I missed anything exciting?
Yeah, we were just saying how easy the lettings industry is and how a lettings manager's job is just a doddle.
You just give that, you just print off a tenancy agreement and hand them a set of keys. That's it, isn't it?
That's about it. We were just getting into the bones of Fixflo, and obviously both you and I are satisfied customers of Fixflo. So we have that in common. And we were talking about the out of hours service as well, which we're loving at the moment. Do you use it?
We do. Actually, I don't know if we're one of the first to use it. I tend to be an early adopter with most things. We've used it. We trialed it at Christmas. Yeah. And one of the things we noticed, and no offense to our contractors who might be listening, sometimes they don't always go out when you want them to. And obviously having the service level agreement with AXA, it worked really well over Christmas. So we carried on with it. I mean, it's not the cheapest, but I mean, it probably wouldn't cost any more. I don't think it costs any more if you'd have called one of your own guys out, but at least, you know, you could get somebody.
I think that's what you find. If you were to try and find somebody that will go out on Christmas Day, it's, you know, it's
we had a guy, we had a guy got locked out on Boxing Day. I think he had a call within an hour and he was back in within 2 or 3. That's Boxing Day. So, you know, hats off.
Within 3 drinking hours.
Yeah. So, and the trouble is with Christmas, most contractors say to me, if anything happens after a certain time on a certain day, don't bother calling.
Yep.
You know, so it's good in that respect.
Which is fair enough, unless you're paying them for the availability. I think they should be able to enjoy it, and they should be able to go on holiday and all the stuff you'd expect. And so having a depth of contractors available across the UK is hopefully helpful. Do you use AXA as part of your pitch for new landlords, or do you use Fixflo as part of that at all?
Yes. We hope it. I mean, I know there are other agents in my town that use it, but I don't think they shout about the fact that they use it. And I just like the fact that it's this end-to-end product. You know, and obviously going back to the Christmas AXA thing, what used to happen historically is Muggins here would get the emergency mobile phone that would ring, and then you'd spend the next 2 hours trying to get somebody's backside out. Whereas now it just goes straight to AXA and it gets dealt with. So, you know, for talking about drinking time, it's happy days for me as well, because I don't need to worry about.
And let's put it this way: if there's one person you don't want to owe favors to, it's a contractor on Christmas Day, right?
No. I'd have to send them to you, you see, then,
David. With pleasure, we'll take them. Great. So, Rajiv, we've spoken about the out of hours service, and we've also spoken about the electrical inspections that are going on. What's the future for Fixflo? What's cooking?
So the next thing else, so we take a different approach to software development to, I think, some of the other companies in the space. So we do a upgrade roughly every 2 weeks. I say roughly every 2 weeks because occasionally they bundle up, but and we don't do one over the Christmas period. But you're looking at 20 odd upgrades a year being delivered for free to our customers. And so the next one that's coming out, I think, is exciting, but we like both knowing whether we're right or we're wrong. It's nearly there. It's called Contractor Inbox. And what it does is it allows contractors to track whether their invoices have been paid. So it moves them. So we have the ability for contractors who work for multiple Fixflo clients, and lots of them do now, to aggregate their jobs into a single app. So they can say, I'm working for, and these bad examples, I'm working for Normie and Co in the morning and Zoe in the afternoon, and it all comes into a single app so they can manage their jobs and do their route mapping. So that's really useful for them, I think. Or they could just do it for one. But the next part is the inbox, where they can mark jobs, invoices as having been paid. So one of the challenges contractors typically have is knowing which invoices have been paid and which haven't. So they're able to update that and manage that through the platform. Plus, we built a thing which everyone else will call AI, but I don't think it really is. AI is an overused term, where contractors can, at the moment, already upload their invoice or create an invoice in the platform. We've built a contractor inbox where they can email it, so they each get their own email box, and it matches their invoice to the job in Fixflo and matches it all up. So they don't need to do anything other than just forward their emails to a specific inbox that they're given within their Fixflo system. It matches it all up, and if you've got integration with your back-end system, it'll push all that information straight into your accounting as well. So
impressive.
That's the next thing.
That's great. I mean, any kind of efficiencies around that, and it helps. I think it helps property managers as well, doesn't it? Making sure that, because a lot of the work that you'll do is not only getting the jobs done, but it's the admin that comes afterwards, and the invoicing and chasing of payments, both in terms of making those payments and also the contractor confirming that they've received it. And contractors, if you're anything like half of the contractors I've met, they all stack those jobs on the front sort of shelf of their transit van, and it sits there until it accumulates to a certain level, and then it's then invoiced so many months down the line that all of us have forgotten what the original job was. So this is going to help them keep it all in one place, isn't it?
It'll help them get paid more quickly. It'll help you be able to manage your landlord's balances, and from a landlord's perspective, knowing quite what my net rent is going to be rather than having it all come out in lumps is really useful.
That's great.
The other thing we're doing, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as to Fixflo customers, is we're building a training centre. So you or your teams more likely can get proper Fixflo certifications. So we'll take them through training courses, basic, intermediate, advanced, and at the end of that, they can get certified. Do you think that's something that would be useful to you? And is it perhaps something you might look for in potential hires, that they have some form of certification?
I'm going to throw that one over to Zoe.
Any continued professional development is good. I think with Fixflo, you either get it or you don't. So if someone's had training and fully understands the inner workings, then I would probably feel more comfortable taking them on than somebody who didn't really know what they were doing. Because, like I say, you either get it or you don't. And if someone's been certificated, they obviously do get it. And for me, for the time involved in trying to train, and don't get me wrong, I welcome training and development within my team, but if it means it's going to be a lot easier because they only have to understand my processes as a business, then how Fixflo works, that's all good for me. I mean, especially with the regulation of ROPA coming, regulation property agents coming, it's a bolt onto that as well, because it's another string to a potential employee's bow that gives them that unique selling point as well. Because like you said, there's more of us using Fixflo now. Like I say, and if someone's level 3 qualified and understands Fixflo, that's all good for me. And it's a bargaining chip for a potential employee when negotiating their salary, isn't it?
So we've seen quite a few job specifications out there via recruiters where they say Fixflo experience preferred or required, depending on what the job is. And I thought, well, we don't really help people to show that they've got Fixflo experience. So that's where this all started from. How can we help people show that they've got a requisite level of experience? So we're looking to put that out later in the year.
So Rajiv, tell us. I know that Fixflo plays well with other systems, but tell us how it integrates generally. I mean, most agents are going to be using at least one CRM if they can get away with it. If they can find one that does everything that they want it to do, which is notoriously difficult, but it does integrate, doesn't it?
It does. So I'll sort of break that into two parts. I don't believe that for most businesses, a single piece of technology will do everything you need. And the fact that both of you have existing CRMs, and I know, Zoe, you're an avid adopter of good technology that comes through. Well, hopefully you are. So I think a technology stack is where the market is. So you layer together different things and you have no need to duplicate data. So we integrate with about 40 different software systems. So ranging from inventory and inspection apps. So if anything's tagged as requiring repair, it drops into Fixflo automatically. You don't have to type it across. Through to on Fixflo Basics, so the repair reporting piece, pushing that into a CRM to create a drop works order, or taking our full package and the ability then to push all the invoicing when approved and the cost into the purchase ledger, purchase invoice register, or whatever they call it for that particular system. So we have lots of things we integrate with, including IoT devices and stuff, so you can put in a smart leak detector if that's interesting. But they all integrate in slightly different ways. So I think integration is, to sort of blunt a term, it's about what does the integration actually do. We have guides available for customers and non-customers so they can actually see what it does. We're transparent about the level of integration, and they do vary. And so I'd strongly encourage our customers, if you're thinking about plugging stuff together, either get in touch or click on the help button in your Fixflo system, and you'll be able to see step by step exactly what the integrations do. We upgrade those periodically. So we're doing an integration with Repit Foundations at the moment, with SME Professional. We're upgrading our Eurolink integration. We're constantly upgrading our Cube integration. So they are evolving integrations, and we put a lot of work into it, as do our partners. But if you want to know exactly what they are, then please get in touch or look in your Fixflo system.
So there's tons of useful guides that you guys do, and they're all available there once you log in.
So all the guides around how the system works, videos, tutorials, how the integration works, videos of those, everything you might want to know is in the Fixflo system. And that's basically the basis of the certification we're doing. So we're turning that into a structured training course if people want to go through it in a logical order in order to get certified. But we also do ebooks and webinars and stuff. And Zoe, do you get any of our content stuff?
All of it. We pretty much download most of it, and most of it gets reused. Obviously, when we're going to market appraisals and whatnot, because a lot of it's really interesting and current as well. It's up to date. If there's a change in legislation, there's generally something comes out quite quickly. We jump on as many webinars as we can, because you do tend to have some good speakers as well. So yeah, we like I say, I was doing this yesterday with Milton from Keyware. And I literally use everything within an inch of its life. There's no point, and I think Simon alluded to people using software 10% of it and don't use the rest.
Yeah,
You've got to use Fixflo fully and properly. And again, the training side of it will obviously facilitate users to be able to do that, because there's no point paying for a product if you're not going to use it properly.
One of the key challenges we find is Fixflo is a process as well as a software system. And so if you are unwilling to change your process, now, while it's flexible and customizable in lots of different ways, I think taking on the software, it's not just a piece of software. You're buying into the process and the ethos around it, which is transparency, a bit of automation, and trying to deliver a different experience to tenants and contractors. If that's not for you, then if you're really happy with exactly how you do it, it may be the same way we do it, but there is a process change as well. And I think that wholehearted adoption of a system is absolutely critical.
Fantastic. Right. So Zoe, have you got any questions now we've got him squarely in our sights as customers? What do we want from Fixflo going forward? Name your beta testing wish list, and we'll get it in the system right now.
I've not had any preparation for this, so I don't.
Okay, well.
So what do you think, David?
Well, thank you for turning that question back on me. No, I think I started this out by saying that Whaley and I have always had a long-running discussion about the bits of prop tech that work the best, particularly when it comes to lettings and management. We tend to find that whatever cuts out what Whaley would term contact with the great unwashed. So what he means, I know it's not very politically correct, but
at the moment he is the great
I'll
unwashed.
reword it when you finish, David, in an appropriate
It's fine,
way.
but maybe I'll phrase it in my own words. That whatever takes up your time in terms of face-to-face interaction with possible tenants, ongoing tenants, and very, very time-consuming processes on seemingly easy to solve problems. So if you can get a clear diagnosis of what the problem is, it helps you to react to that much quicker. And it cuts out that hours and hours of conversation that tends to go backwards and forwards between agent and tenant, agent and landlord, agent and contractor. Because you've got the reporting all in one place, and you can, at a flick of a button, send it to whichever contractor you wish with clearly defined photos, very often the make and the model of whatever machine it is that's going wrong that particular day. I think it just helps everybody cut out hours and hours of contact that is just unnecessary. And I go so far as to say that in this day and age where face-to-face contact, at the moment at least, is less than helpful, it probably allows you to offer a more COVID secure service.
Zoe, have you turned on any of the COVID updates that we put out? So we very quickly, I think within a week or so, maybe even less, managed to add additional questions that our clients could turn on. So asking tenants, are you shielding? Do you have symptoms? Has anyone tested positive? Are you being tested? All the sorts of things directly taken from the government. So it helps to protect tenants. So we've got the same for contractors, actually. So we try to mitigate the risk of people who may affect each other coming in physical contact. So you can turn that on, and it's held separately in the database because it's special category data under GDPR, coming back to my legal geekery. And so that will be expunged from the database separate to anything else at the point at which the government says it's no longer necessary. Have you, you can't give me any specific examples though, but have you seen that being useful, or is it just a nice comfort blanket?
It is useful, and I think from the tenant side as well, they feel more comfortable allowing people into their homes to do works. Because when this originally hit the fan in March, people were reluctant. They didn't want anyone, because you want your protective bubble, as they call it. And then when that came in, it just meant it allowed us to feel confident that we were able to do that. Apologies. It's been one of those days.
It's Simon Whale. He's saying, "Don't mention that. Don't mention that."
He's in a gutter somewhere at the minute, I think. He was out on the lash last night, wasn't he? But yeah, we found it really useful. But everything that Fixflo has done has been good for us, and that's the reason why we stick with it. I'm one of these, if I don't like something, I'll say, and I won't use it. And I've been using it for a few years now, because there's nothing else that beats it.
Fantastic. Rajiv, I know that you've got my notes tell me, they send me through these prompts. So I know your name. I know roughly speaking what you do as a service. But they've also said to me that there is a deal, I believe, going live on Kerfuffle next week, if I'm not mistaken, for Fixflo.
Subject to
be confirmed.
To be confirmed, it's subject to Simon Whale returning my calls, which may or may not happen.
If you're listening.
Speaking on behalf of Mr. Whale, he's had a very, very busy few days attending to some charity matters. He shall, after the weekend, return your call. In fact, he's set aside some time next week, blocks of time, just to speak to people and you're at the top of his list. So I'd imagine if you've not had a call by Monday lunchtime, please call me, okay?
Yes, I will, but for transparency and honesty, and I know he's not very technological despite his background in property technology. He sent me a calendar invite. I think it was intended for next week, but he got the month wrong. So I'll just see whether he updates that as we go.
That's awesome. Thank you very, very much, Zoe, for joining us.
Sorry, I was late.
You just tag on to everything, don't you? That Kerfuffle does. You
Great
can't get enough.
Takeover. I'm going for it. I'm gunning for him.
Well, the agents have taken over.
Yeah,
this is the beginning of the
why
end.
we need to do this podcast thing. Just cut him out of the equation, mate.
I'm gonna send you an email about that, but I think if you're available on Monday morning, I think we might be able to arrange that. Rajiv, a pleasure as always. Thank you very much. We are avid fans, both on a professional basis in our own businesses, but also obviously at Kerfuffle as well. I know lots of people watching out there who'll be watching it back later will find all of this very useful. You are famously very approachable, so if anybody's got any questions, they can get in touch with you. Can
I just say two things as well before you sign off about Fixflo and Rajiv as well, is that on a personal level, they've been really good in terms of the development of my apprentice Ellie, who has embraced Fixflo, and Rajiv's been really supportive in her development. And also on a personal level, I asked them a favour a few months ago and they delivered with bells on. And I just want to say, that to me speaks volumes. It's not just about being a supplier. They go over and above.
It's quite emotional. Though.
I know, and I'm not just the money's the checks in the mail sort of thing, but they are great, and that's what you want. You want some honesty as well. They're not just in it to make a quid.
At last, a prop tech supplier with a human side, eh?
So I just want to say thank you personally.
Thank you too, Zoe. It's been awesome working with you. It will carry on. And to you, fake Simon, thanks to you.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure. If I don't see you all again today, have a wonderful weekend. Any questions, as always, in the comments below. And if you want to get in touch with Rajiv, get in touch with us and we will connect you. Zoe Bywater, have a wonderful weekend. Anything planned?
Usual stuff, when you're not at work.
Sleeping and eating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, important things. Right, guys, I will see you again.
See you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.